Hey guys, welcome back to Close Enough Creations. Today we're out in the garage and we're working on this 1985 Honda 250 SX. Okay, so I picked this guy up last summer. I'm just now starting to work on it. I got it running the other day by replacing the carb with another OEM one. It was completely clogged up. I had to drain about a quart of oil because someone overfilled it. It started up on the second kick and it smoked for a good 15 minutes while it burnt off all the oil that was slung inside the exhaust. But it seems to have great compression. I took it down the driveway and it's pretty peppy. But as you can see, it's not in the best shape. But that's what we're here to do. We're gonna make this guy shine, and it's gonna be a good runner by the end of this video. So let's get into it. All right, we're gonna start off with an oil change. So on this bike, the drain plug is located right here, and it's a 17 millimeter. Kind of want to capture some of it so we can look at it. So here's our oil. It's not the worst I've seen. I mean, I don't see any metal shavings or anything in there, but it reeks of fuel. And I mean, it's really old. Now we can remove our oil filter right here. There are 3 bolts holding it in, and they are all 8 millimeter. Okay, we're quickly just gonna clean this out a little bit. Here's our new filter. We're gonna put it on this cap, just like this with the rubber end facing down. Here's our spring. I noticed that the spring doesn't really wanna stay in there, so what I've seen other people do is kind of use lube or grease to hold it in place. So here's some Vaseline. I'm just gonna shove some Vaseline on the spring. There it is, it's holding itself up. Put this guy in. There we go. Okay, now we can put our drain plug back in. Okay, now we can fill her up with some oil. We're gonna be using 10W40, which is what Honda recommends. I mean, of course, this isn't motorcycle oil. They recommend motorcycle oil, but I'm sure this is fine. It's better than any oils that were manufactured in '85. So I've actually just pre-measured it in this. This is not 10W30, it's actually 10W40, but this is 2.2 quarts. So we're gonna fill her up. Perfect. Okay, so now I want to get this thing running. So the next step is to get our new air filter in. It's a uni filter. This actually needs to be oiled before we put it in. Then we'll get this thing running, get it up to temp, let the oil get circulated, and then we'll do a compression test and see where it sits. We're going to be spraying this K&N oil onto it. And I mean, you kind of want to just be, you know, pretty liberal with it actually. Whoops. All right, so now we can take off our fender, which this is actually a Mayer fender. It's an aftermarket fender, it's not Honda. This is the original Honda seat cover, which I will be replacing at some point. So I've already cleaned the air box. All the air hoses have been cleaned. This should just slip right on. Yep. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now we can put our air box lid back on. Just make sure you got that gasket on the top there in the groove. So I was really hoping that we were gonna be able to keep this tank. I love the metal tank, but when you look closer, I mean, this isn't just surface rust. This stuff has really gotten into the metal, and I mean, in some parts I can almost push my finger right through. So yeah, this tank, I mean, when you look on the inside, it's even worse. I mean, look at the lid, the cap there. You look on the inside here, someone's already tried to seal it, but it's rusty as all hell, and the sealer's coming off, and it's just, you know, it's not gonna be salvageable, but I already have this plastic tank, so we'll be putting that on. Okay, so cold start right there. Got our kicker out, choke on. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes idling out there. Okay, so before we do a compression test, I just wanted to, you know, kind of give you guys a history on what I've done off camera. This starter actually came off of my 86 Big Red. I ordered a starter, it just wasn't gonna come in on time, so I robbed that and we painted it black. The old starter that was on this wasn't working at all. I mean, I put power directly to it and it wouldn't do anything. I also had to replace this solenoid here. It was completely seized up. They're cheap though. I mean, I think I paid $6 for that and $30 for the starter. So yeah, let's do a compression test. Okay, so the first time I did this, I didn't keep the throttle open. So this time I'm gonna hold the throttle open. I've zip tied the gauge to the petcock there. So we got it turned on, throttle open. Looks like 160, 165, somewhere in there, which is pretty good. So a couple other things that I didn't get on film. I bought a new battery for it, got that installed. I messed with this brake light. It wasn't working. The connections up here were all corroded, and then I cleaned it out and it works nice now. Most bikes don't even come with those. I also picked up a set of tires and rims. They're in like new condition. You know, there's no weather cracking and the rims are in great shape. The guy that I bought them from also threw in this stock fender, which is awesome because it looks way better than the Mayer fender that it came with. I mean, it's, you know, it's not in the best shape. It's got some cracks and it's been, you know, zip tied, but it looks nice. The color matches our tank great. You know, and it's way better than that. The next thing on our list is going to be replacing this rear brake cable, which snapped. It's controlled by this lever right here. So here's our new brake cable. Let's get it on. Whew. I think it's safe to say that's never been off before. Now that we've gotten that off, we can pull this thing out and then that way and pull this guy completely out. And there it is. Okay, here we go. Here's our new brake cable. We're going to be starting on this end here. It's pretty simple actually. It pushes in through the back of this hole. I'll put that up a little bit. All right, there we go. Now what we're gonna do is actually put it through this hole up here. There we go. Okay, now we can slide the cable through that slot and then push this rod all the way down. It's kind of a pain in the butt once it's in this up here, but you can get it down. You just gotta work at it. There it goes. And then we can put this boot back on here. And then this boot back on here, like that. So this side is done. All right, so here's the back end of our brake cable. What we're gonna do is actually feed it into this down here. Then we're gonna expose the cable and pull back to put it through this little slot here. And then we're gonna push it down. Okay, so now the cable's in all the way. We got our brand new wing nut there. So we're gonna thread that on. Oh wow, that's way easier. So now, as I spin this, let me move this over here. As I spin that, I'm raising the brake lever. I don't know if you can see it going up there. I'm gonna go up until it hits its stop. A little bit higher. Right there. Okay, so while we're at it, I think I'm gonna replace this one. I mean, I might be able to rethread the old wing nut that came off of that one, but this looks like it's a makeshift nut that someone put on here. There it is. That is not stock. Okay, so some of you might have noticed that I missed this spring when I was putting it back together. So I found that spring and I put it back on. That spring is pretty important. It actually keeps tension on these wing nuts so they don't just accidentally come off when you're riding. Okay, so I got the trike stood up so we can get a better look at the header. As you can see, one of the studs has broken right off. So we're gonna take this apart so we can get better access. So while we're over here, I mean, I gotta take this header off. You'll note that someone went ahead and painted this gray, and they did it while it was still on the bike because my frame is all gray all the way down here. And I don't know what in the world possessed someone to put gray on it because everything on this bike is black. But we'll be painting that black too. Okay, I finally got the exhaust off. It was a pain in the butt to get these two pieces separated, but I finally got it off. So the next thing I'm gonna be doing is trying to get this stud out. I've already tried to get it out with pair of vice grips and that didn't work, so now I'm going to take a nut and weld it to that thing and hopefully we can get it out. Okay, well that didn't work. All right, now that we got both of our studs in, which we had to actually drill this one out, we couldn't get that stud out. We tried welding about 6 nuts to it and they just kept breaking off. So we drilled that out and tapped it, got our studs in. This is a brand new exhaust gasket. Here's the old one. So we'll put that back on there. Here's our freshly painted header pipe. Got a couple lock washers here. Get this started. Here's our freshly painted muffler. This right here is actually the new gasket for right here, which will go in between that and the header pipe. I don't know if you need the part number off that, but there it is. So we're gonna actually have to clean this hole out and get the old one out. Okay, so now that we got this thing nice and cleaned up and the old gasket removed, we're gonna have this one pushed in. All right. There, that is on. Okay, now we can get to reupholstering the seat. Okay, now we can start pulling out all these staples. I'm just gonna use a flathead screwdriver. Okay, I think it's ready to come off. All right. I'll let this dry out. Okay, so we got all our staples ripped out of our seat pan. When I took this off of the rear fender, I broke off these two studs right here. I was hoping that I would be able to take them out and replace them, but they've been molded right into the plastic. So I'm gonna be drilling them out, or at least drilling a hole through there so I can stick a bolt through on this side. One of our holes is a little bit more mangled, and I'm probably gonna be filling that up with some hot glue once we get the bolt through. This one's pretty good. So from this side, I got this bolt here. We'll stick a washer on it. We'll put it through where we drilled there. And then because it's a little, there we go, line it up with this stud so it's in line here. And now I'm gonna fill up this void here. We have some thread locker here. I got the seat pan all cleaned up. I got a couple areas where I put some foam and glued it in with super glue and used a razor blade to just cut it off flush with the seat pad. Now we can put it on here. We're gonna be using just a regular old staple gun. There are 1/4" staples in it. So we're gonna start by centering the front. Okay. That looks pretty good. I'll wrap that over. We're gonna come underneath here and we're gonna put in a staple. Okay, so there's one staple in the front there. I'm gonna go to the back, center it on the back. Okay. Aha! We've finally gotten to the last thing on our list, which is going to be changing out the rear differential fluid. I've got it up on jack stands and I've taken off both tires to give you guys a better view and to also give me a little bit more room to work with. The first thing I'm gonna be doing is taking out this 10mm drain plug right here. Ooh. That looks horrible. This oil looks like it's never been changed. So I'm gonna do a flush with some diesel fuel. I'm gonna put this drain plug back in. So this is what I'm gonna be using. It's an 80 weight 90. I've got roughly 3.3 ounces measured out. It's probably like 3.4 because I'm not gonna get it all in with this. Here we go. Here's the cap. I've kind of cleaned it up a little bit. The O-ring is looking pretty good. Done. Okay. Finally take her for a ride.